Hey guys, it's Amy
And Molly.
and we're from Rise, and we're just jumping on to basically bring up the topic of mental well-being and mental health within the sport and fitness industry. So we've got a few questions we're going to go through and answer ourselves.
Okay, so number one, we're going to introduce ourselves a little bit so you know a little bit about our background. I'm a footballer, so I've came from a bit more of a group style setting in the football. So I've been around a number of athletes, trained with a range of athletes as well. So I know a bit about how they train, mindset as well, massive one in sport. It's not just about the physical capability, it's about the mental as well. So obviously when you want to get to a high level in sport, that's when it kind of the drive, the determination to do better and train harder is a big one. So I've played in America for 4 years. I've got a football scholarship out there. I played for Newcastle United for a few years, and got injured. I won't go in detail with that, but now I'm moving on to more of the coaching style. So what about you, Amy? What's your background?
Yeah, so previously I was a dancer, so professional dancer, trained similar to you, more from a really young age. Again, working in groups, you could have us training, God, up to like 30 hours a week on side of like you're going to school and stuff. We also did like a lot of one-on-one training with our teachers. And then I went to London where I was scouted, and that's when I kind of got into the industry there. So I did that from age 21 up until 26. Similar thing, did get injured, but it wasn't the reason as to why I stopped dancing. But now I am a health coach, and I also teach yoga and Pilates, and I take a lot more of a holistic approach to fitness and well-being, I guess.
Yeah. So again, quite different but similar at the same time. And a question that a lot of people might ask is, how did mental health influence us personally? So do you want to go first this time?
Yeah, sure. So with dancing, obviously, it's not classed as a sport, although I feel that it should be. If you've ever seen ballerinas, they are absolute athletes. But yeah, as regards mental health, I think that at the time when I was young and training, there wasn't a lot of support. With the dance industry, I know hopefully it's changing away from what it used to be, but it was very much based on your image. We would have regular measurements done, weight checking, so weigh-ins, and it was all kind of based image first and then your kind of talent second. So yeah, I think I did struggle with that growing up, and it did kind of lead into my adulthood as well. But I'm hoping that the industry has now changed, and yeah, there's a lot more help out there, which is really positive to see. What about you, Mo?
Quite similar. Again, football's not quite as an aesthetic kind of that pressure to look a certain way. Football, it's more about physical and just kind of, it's not classed as a female sport either, which is why it's nice to be on this event and try and publish a bit more about women's football. So but I think for me, from a younger age, obviously an image was set in my head, and I think sometimes it can, you battle between whether you're training for your sport or you're training to look a certain way, and it's a massive thing, because if you want to go to the top level, your sport needs to be that focus. Again, you've got to put, what we've named this thing, we want to put the human first, the athlete second. So as much as sport is important, and if you want to go all the way, you've got to put your body first as well. So know where your limit is. And for me, I think, again, similarly with you, not necessarily we'd be getting weighed to be a low weight, but we would get body fat measured, we'd do fitness testing, we would get weighed before training for water loss, which again, it is important to do that. So we're not saying that shouldn't be a thing, but it's about how the athlete deals with that in the end, really.
What their mindset is, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And what support they have around them.
Exactly. So if you're someone that's getting weighed before a training session, and then afterwards you're seeing someone losing like I remember once I lost like 2 kilos in a training session, which that's just water, it's not fat. But someone who's not maybe educated and knows that, they might be like, oh, why have I put weight on in this session? Like, what's going on? And then they might like stop eating for the rest of the day, which it's really important to educate your athletes and let them know that in that session, if you've put weight on, it's just because you've drank a little bit more fluid, that's it. And someone who's lost weight, you've just lost that fluid in the training session, maybe because they didn't drink enough to start with. But again, it's important to fuel yourself after that session. So again, we really like plead their coaches to just educate your athletes about what your actual goal is.
Yeah, exactly. How do you think it affected or like stopped your kind of, well, your not end of your football career, because I don't want to say it's over just yet,
Maybe
but
not.
how do you think it's affected you?
I think as much as I put nearly everything into my football, there'd be days when if I went training, I would stick to my program, but I would underfuel. I probably wouldn't fuel enough because that age time I was affected a lot with a lot of mental health stuff, and I wouldn't eat right as much as I thought at the time I was eating healthily. I was really underfueling, and I would overtrain. So I always battle whether I'd be training for performance, but I'd also be training
for aesthetics.
Yeah, that subconscious mind though. I would probably tell myself, I'd be like, no, I want to be fitter.
Yeah.
So I think I'd overtrain, and that hence the injuries. Obviously it's not just because of the overtraining with my injuries, but massive factor.
Do you feel as though there was like support for your mental well-being when you were younger and training and like going through that phase of like overtraining for your
probably
your
not
aesthetics?
no I think we worked, especially in the States, worked with some really, really high end coaches. And they would be there for support. It's not like there was no one there, but it wasn't talked about enough. And I think if you're seeing an athlete who's training a lot, and you can tell, you can pick up the little signs, the warning signs. Maybe not everyone, but again, that's something that probably needs to be introduced. You need to have a talk with your athletes, and sometimes your athlete won't speak up, because I know I wouldn't have been like, oh, I think I've got an issue. I wouldn't have done that, because I was always the opposite and be like, no, I can battle through it, like it's fine.
So would that be like a suggestion? Would you say that it's beneficial to reach out if you're a coach yourself, if you were training somebody and you thought as though they were kind of training too much and it was for a specific reason that wasn't going to be beneficial for their actual progression, would you then kind of intervene? Would you recommend doing that?
I think again it is a very sensitive subject. So, and everybody goes about issues in different ways. Some people can talk about it, some people can't. Some people don't like getting approached, etc. But I think you can't just leave it. You need to do it either behind closed doors, not in front of your teammates. Behind closed doors, just have like a one-to-one meeting with them. And you should have that as a coach. You want to have that relationship with your players anyway. You want to feel comfortable. You want your players to be able to talk to you. So I think it is something that needs to be talked about.
So like if you were to go back, what would have you done differently when you were going through like the little issues and like mental kind of things?
I think I would have, it's hard to say I would have changed, because it is hard, because even at that time I didn't want to be like battling between that. So it's not, so when it comes to mental health issues, sometimes you have that. It's not like you haven't got it for a reason. You don't want to have an issue. Do you know what I mean? But I think I would have maybe just been like spoken up a little bit more and took the pressure off that side and just worked extra on my football training rather than trying to be the fittest player in the team. Because I think that was something for me. I'd try and always, I don't know if anybody knows me, they know I was always like, I'd always work that extra to do well in the fitness test. But I think you need to, the skill set's important as well. So stay in those couple extra hours trying to, like for example me, kicking a ball, trying to get your precision, shooting, etc., rather than going to bust you get on a treadmill. It's not, you know what I mean?
It's a different kind of thing, isn't it? Different reasons for training.
Yeah, and I think my nutrition was good, but I think, again, there was times when I underfueled a little bit. And again, that's off and on. But what about you? What do you think about that?
About going back?
Yeah, would you change anything?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because the older you get, the wiser you get.
Yeah,
You know,
so you
it's
can't really
actually a
say I would
thing.
change it.
And the more you're kind of in the industry, especially the health, fitness, and like well-being industry, the more you kind of open your eyes to everything.
It's always changing as well.
Yeah, it's constantly changing. And I think if I was, say, my 14-year-old self now, training the amount that I did for dancing to make sure I was like, you know, at the top, one of the elite dancers, 100%, it would have been good for me to actually speak up and have the confidence. I think a lot of it's to do with confidence, because when you have like for me it was like an issue with food, so I'd underfuel and then train and then collapse. So like I think if I had the confidence to believe in myself and know that, you know, it's okay to have a problem, it's okay to have a mental issue, or, you know, something that, you know, affects your well-being, but it's equally important to make sure that you reach out to somebody you feel comfortable around. So whether that's your coach, whether that's your family member or a friend, but definitely reaching out to somebody. If I was to go back, I'd reach out to somebody sooner. Just to know.
Similar
because
to me,
I think there's a lot of talk around mental health now and well-being, and I think it's only going to get bigger, and it's nice to hear people's stories and know that, you know, you're not just the only person. There's so many people out there, especially in the, you know, the athletic industry or the fitness industry. There's so many people out there now that's starting to speak up and starting to say that, you know, I used to have an issue with this and la la la. So yeah, don't be afraid to talk to somebody. That's what I'd say to my younger self.
Yeah, nice. And I think finally, any advice, would you give any advice for athletes? What would you give maybe your more dancer athletes, or any athlete actually?
Okay. I think it's good to train hard and get in the right mindset for, say you've got a big competition or you've got like a big game or something. Get in the right mindset and make sure you fuel your body correctly. That's obviously speaking from like the side that I was on, but yeah, make sure you fuel your body correctly. If you're feeling fatigued, if you're feeling tired all the time, if you're like, just feeling a bit low and crappy, then just make sure that you're fueling your body correctly. So eat the rainbow, that's what I'd say. Eat as many veggies and fruits as you can, and keep your body fueled. No?
Yeah, I think very similar as well. I think it's important to have, depending on what level you're at, and it's hard obviously to say you need the right coaches, because that's not on you, that's on who's in
and where you live,
environment, where you live, everything, so much to do with it. But it is important for a team, because if your priority is the sport for example me on the field, you don't want to rely too much on yourself doing like the weights in the weight room and the conditioning work. You have a coach to help you with that. And if that coach, for example, is not being that specific on your form, for example, if you're overdoing it in lifting something too heavy that is causing a stress in another area, that can obviously lead further down to issues. And
so selecting the right kind of coach and team.
I mean, that's hard from an athlete's point of view, because how are you supposed to know? Again, just obviously listen to your coach, but also don't be afraid to tell them if you think you're overdoing, if you're overdoing it or you don't feel comfortable doing this. Ask them, like, personally, be like, am I doing this right? Can I maybe is there any chance I can have maybe an hour extra session after just to go over my form, or just something, because sometimes it's hard in a group environment because you don't get that one-on-one approach or like personability. So
and when you are training hard, I want to say make sure to recover well. So I really recommend stretching. If you're into meditation and mindfulness, definitely add it in, make it the whole kind of package, because it's really going to aid your performance. It's going to aid you as an athlete. It's going to aid you as, you know, whatever you kind of do within that kind of fitness industry. Keeping it a round package, so looking after every single part of you, not just your performance when you get on the field or performance when you get to that competition.
So important,
it's all about longevity, isn't it? You want to take care of your body and your mind.
And as well, like, I don't know if any of you might have been taught, what is it when you see the vision, like, what's it, what it's just, I
What,
feel
a
like
vision board?
not a vision board, but this is years past since I've studied
Yeah.
all this, but like when you see that goal in your head, like your visualization, yeah, basically, so you're visualizing that end goal, and then there's no reason why you could, I think is as well, especially in my sport, maybe your sport, I'm not sure, but it's always go go go, and you think when you're not training, you feel like, and well, I know I did, I felt like, oh, I need to be doing something, do I need to, like, even on my rest days, I felt like, oh, do I need to be doing something? No, like, you need your body to rest.
Yeah, if you need that time to rest.
If you're at that level, you need to, your body only adapts when you're resting, so you really do need to listen to yourself, and if you're starting to become overtrained or feel like there's an issue somewhere, just speak up about it. Honesty is the best policy, really.
Yeah, and, exactly. And definitely finding the right coach can help with that, and that's what we do here at Rise. So we're both health coaches. Molly works specifically, well, most of the time with athletes, but we've had experience with many different people. So yeah, if you feel like you resonate with us and what we're about and our story, then we'd love for you to get in touch with us. Yeah, it'd be nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, it'd be really cool, because it's nice because we have such a variety here as well, so that it's not just one. So some people might be a bit intimidated saying, oh, she only works with athletes, like what? Like so do you as well, but plenty not. We've worked from people from the ages of 4 years old to
75.
70, 80, yeah. So it's not always about pushing people past their threshold again. I like people to get out of their comfort zone, but at the same time, I like people just to rest, and you're great with that. You can really just get into that mindset and realise that it's not all about go, go, go. You need to have that.
And that'll actually help aid you as well.
Exactly. So, and yeah, I think another thing, actually, on the 8th of September, we do have a new programme coming out called Phoenix. So if this is something that you think might resonate with you, something that you need a kickstart, every Tuesday and Friday, 6:30 a.m, you know, it's early, but
for 5 weeks.
Yeah, 5 weeks. 11 people. There's a few spaces left. We've got a few that have already paid and already booked in.
But it's a full mind and body transformation. So it's for people who are brand new to exercise, to maybe athletes that are watching this. We've got regressions and progressions for everything, and we're giving out like mindful daily tasks for you guys as well, just to kind of take something away. So yeah, it'd be awesome. If you do want to book onto our course, then just go to our Instagram page, which is rise2.health.
Yeah, and I think that's everything from us, isn't it? So yeah, really nice. I hope you enjoyed our talk from the other side, and hopefully maybe get in touch with some of you soon.
See you guys soon. Have a good day.